Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Appreciate everybody coming to our presentation on Power BI. We realize this is the lull in the afternoon, so hopefully you've come to the most exciting presentation that's available in this time slot, and we're going to keep you interested. My name is Clay, and this is Eric. There's two of us, and we decided to co-host a little bit, mainly because my jokes are better than Eric's.
But there's a grade afterwards, so you can give me the better grade. I'll buy drinks later. No.
So we got a fast-moving presentation today, and just want to up front say we're not here to sell you on anything that Stratum does. We're here to show you what the realm of the possible is with Power BI and some things that we've seen, and we're obviously excited about it, and we want to share what great things are available to you out there that are easy to do, frankly, and that you could do back at your work site with your own data. So we'll be going through a variety of things. We do appreciate questions along the way. It's always helpful to have interaction from the crowd, so please do raise your hand. If it's too complex of a question, we may park and lot it until the end, but we'd like to definitely have interaction from everybody as we go. So just quick background, we're both from Stratum, obviously. We've been in the EAM business for almost 22 years, and we've always had kind of a bent for analytics and stuff like that. We picked up Cognos. Everyone knows Cognos. Years ago, we've done a lot with that, but these days you've got these newfangled tools like Power BI and Tableau that are really great visualization tools, so we're super excited to show you some of the things we're doing with these newer tools. So we'll let Eric take it away.
So just show of hands, how many folks are using Power BI with EAM today? Oh, wow.
Nice.
Right. So why aren't you guys doing this presentation?
It's very clunky, and
Okay.
it requires a big chain of things to make
Yep.
it happen.
Okay. Well,
How many people will admit to being a little bit nerdy or geeky, besides me? Nobody? Oh, come on, you liars.
so one more show of hands. I know DataBridge Pro is new, but how many folks are using Power BI with Data Lake? No hands. One hand. Okay. So that's good. So Nash, are you in here? All right. Nash is giving a workshop tomorrow afternoon on DataBridge Pro. I'd highly recommend going to that after our workshop on Power BI. All right, just a little bit of agenda here. So we're talking about visualization. So we got to have visuals in our PowerPoint. So this is the young AC/DC rock band here. So the agenda, we've done the introductions. We'll talk about why we think visualizations are important. What options do we have in EAM today? So it's not just Power BI. There's other things we can do within EAM. If we are going to leverage Power BI, there's some prerequisites there. And then how do we connect to it? So you can connect through API, connect to a data lake potentially. And of course we want to show some demos, but since there was quite a large audience here that's already using Power BI, what we're showing, you guys are probably well past that, but we'll see. So we'll also allow for some Q&A here. So, I think from a visualization perspective, Clay mentioned we've had the Cognos stuff. Even before that, we had Crystal Reports, the Crystal Clear. Some of you remember that. So it's came a long way. Even when I started 30 years ago, I was in automotive manufacturing. The dashboard thing was what they talked about. They wanted the dashboards. So we had the Start Center. It's kind of a dashboard, but really we need folks to be able to dive into these metrics without understanding EAM. A lot of folks don't know what an asset, position, and system is. They don't care, but they want to be able to dive into this data. So it allows us a chance, and you guys probably know this, but to effectively communicate. We can, of course, identify trends, but the bottom bullet here, I think, is the key. Being able to easily dive into the data without really knowing anything about the system that's supporting that data. So, again, who cares what the hierarchy is? You might have SCADA elements coming in. You might have historian elements coming in, tying all that stuff into a data lake and being able to visualize that through a desktop display. So, connecting Power BI to EAM, there's some prerequisites. So this manual here, this dog's reading, again, we got to have visualizations here, trying to keep everybody awake. But it's quite simple. We need a connector to connect using the API. Unless you're on-prem, you could do some other things where you're tying directly into the database. From out-of-the-box functionality, you need to know how to develop a view or a grid if you're not using data lakes. That's the easiest way to connect. And then the Power BI application, it's free for some minimal things to do. You can download that free if you're, especially if you're part of the Office 365 suite. If you want to publish reports to like a SharePoint or like WorkStream, whatever, it's $10 a month for that license, $120 a year, pretty inexpensive. Let CB
So,
talk about this.
From a non-technical standpoint, 30,000-foot level, there's two basic ways to connect Power BI to your EAM. The first way, the simplest way is that, and we'll show you how to do this in a minute and more deeply in our workshop tomorrow, is to use a grid. You can build a user-defined grid, whether it's a straight-up grid or a grid based on a view, doesn't matter. And within Power BI, you can create a query that connects to that grid, brings that data in, and you can even connect to multiple grids. It doesn't have to be just one. Then you can start using that data inside Power BI to make whatever you want, charts and graphs and visuals and all of that stuff. Very straightforward, very simple. It's not the fast performance option, and it can be a little bit more management required, especially if you start getting large numbers of grids in there and wanting to make changes. It's not necessarily the best approach, but it is simple and easy, and most people can accomplish it quickly. The more, I guess, maybe professional, maybe that's not the right word, the more advanced way to do it, the better way to do it long-term is to connect to a data lake. And so to go that route, you really need to use DataBridge Pro. And we will be talking about that briefly in our workshop tomorrow. We'll show some screenshots of how that's done today. And of course, as we mentioned, Nash is going to be doing a workshop specifically on DataBridge Pro tomorrow. So that is the way to go. We've been using DataBridge Pro with Snowflake ourselves, but you can also connect to Azure or AWS, whatever your chosen data lake architecture is. Tammy?
Do both configuration versions, do they update automatically, the data automatically within Power BI?
So that does require the licensed version of Power BI. So you can set it to schedule refreshes. It's not, so that's probably one point we need to make here. Cognos, it ties into database real time. Power BI is not doing that, air quotes behind that. You're refreshing the data if you're using the grid view. So within the Power BI, they call it semantic model. You can schedule refreshes to pull that data down every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever.
The license has an impact. The
Yeah.
more refreshes you want to do, you
Yeah.
may have to buy a more expensive license.
Power
Power
BI
BI
side,
license.
yes, yeah. Now, on the data bridge to data lake side, a little bit different there, and I'll show that here in a minute, but we can push data out to the data lake about every 5 minutes if you want, which Julio has graciously helped us with, so in setting some of this stuff up. But we'll show that here in a bit. So we'll pause the presentation for a second and jump into Power BI to show you how we're connecting. Of course, we're going to show some of the reports and things like that, but just to show how we're tying this in. So I'm going to switch over, and we'll talk about this report in a little bit. But within Power BI, and for those of you that are doing this, you've got an option there called Transform Data. And the Transform Data, there's a lot of stuff that goes onto that. We're not going to get into the weeds of it, but essentially what we're doing is making an API call.
We're using the REST API
Yeah.
to connect to a grid and pull the data in simple terms.
So that's required tomorrow. For those of you that are coming to the workshop, we're going to give you this API call for you to take with you and leverage. So there's no way for us to give it to you guys here today, but we can probably work something out there later on. But this is just a simple call that's made. The other component here, and I'll cancel this out. is we've got within Power BI, you can also set up your own joins, you know, one to many, many to many, whatever you're doing there. So if you have multiple grids, you can configure that yourself. Now, again, the benefit of a data lake is you could do this within the data lake. It's going to be much faster than Power BI managing this.
You might notice on the right, we have a series of grids that we've brought in to Power BI. They all start with HU, that's our kind of our naming convention. But each one is represented by one of those blocks, and you're able to make the joins and relationships between them as if they were tables.
Yeah. And then the other thing within Power BI, and for those of you, again, that have been using this, just publishing reports. So you can publish these reports internally to your SharePoint. You can publish them publicly. So folks that don't have access to whatever applications you're using, they could go to a website and see that display. And we'll show examples of that as well. So from a connection perspective, it's really, you got to have a connector tied to your user ID. You're going to set up, and we'll go through this tomorrow in the workshop, you're going to set up an API key that's basically your user ID and password in layman's terms. That's going to allow us to connect to EAM. And we're going to set up a grid. We're going to use this REST API. And now we can start pulling data, do visualizations, things like that. Clear as mud? All right. So the other option, we've cleaned this up since yesterday, Julio, so this is great. This is not BOD-based. I'll just say that, and correct me if I say something incorrectly, but we're using the EAM Data Lake message processor, fairly new within DataBridge Pro, that processor. So you can see we've got it set up to push data every 5 minutes. We're just grabbing R5 events because everybody knows R5 events for the most part, into our Snowflake data lake. So I'll show you an example of that here. We could go into this live, but I don't want to log in to 15,000 applications. But this is basically a table we created in Snowflake. It's got the work order data there. It's pushing every 5 minutes on update. Okay?
If I may just go up a little bit, the beauty of that processor is that it has a separate queue, so it doesn't compete with your transaction bit. So
Yep.
if you send information on transaction, this is completely separate queue, so you can send a lot of data without affecting your transaction. That's relatively new.
We found it to be really, really fast.
It's fast.
We had a customer
Yeah.
that came out yesterday that did a request with 9,000 transactions in it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then from here, if you remember the model that I showed earlier that was within Power BI, you could actually create the joins and the models here. So think of it, you have maybe a historian data coming in, you've got SCADA information coming in directly, financials coming in. You can easily go in here and create those joins. Power BI doesn't have to manage that. And then start creating the visualization reports there.
So if it's not obvious, we should point out that the grid approach is, by definition, limited to just EAM data. The data lake approach, you can pump in data from whatever you got and join it together with the EAM data.
So this is just a basic report using work order data, but this is pulling from that Snowflake data lake. And within Power BI, I'll just show this real quick here. I'm going off a little bit of the script, but within Power BI, it's already got the Snowflake connector piece built into it, so you can easily connect into your data lake. And there's some other parameters that you got to put in there. But so from here, this is live data. I can click on these and refresh any of the visuals underneath. It's normal Power BI stuff, but again, this is pulling right from that data lake, not connected to EAM.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
I'm in the crawl stage.
Yep.
I'm actually low crawling.
Okay.
At this point.
We just learned yesterday, so it's good.
Yeah. So when you say Snowflake, is that just EAM data or it's just a larger data lake that you have an external EAM?
It is external, yeah.
Okay,
Snowflake is a data lake product, if you want to think about it that way,
Yeah.
third party.
okay.
Yeah.
So for EAM, so the data, and when you're talking data bridge is.
Data bridge is the piece, the component that's moving that to the data lake. So EAM, data bridge, data lake.
I can fly this stuff, like,
That's,
I can do this.
that's all right, yeah. That's all right.
Snowflake is the largest, most expensive data lake in the world.
Okay, yeah,
Is it expensive?
But if you want to handle 5,000 terabytes an hour or some sort like that, it's one of the few data lakes that can handle.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just needed clarity, instead of
But if you're-
my brain was parsing where information was.
Yeah, if you're an Azure shop, they've got their own stuff there too, so it's going to be a better approach to take that. Actually, Nash, I think, is, if he's still in here, he's going to show that in the workshop tomorrow, so.
Let's just, if I make a point.
Yes. Yep.
The benefit of what they've done, and the way they did it, the use case they did it, is that taking data that was part of the IAM and then putting it in a location. That location should be in data lakes, it can be Azure.
Yes.
AWS, can be Snowflake, can be a data in the cloud, can be SQL in the cloud, can be Azure, whatever.
S3 bucket, yeah.
And then you can use Power BI to visualize the data.
Yeah.
Because
That's
what
the
we're doing,
benefit of their approach.
I guess we're doing grids to Starbucks SQL server, you know, to a
Mhm.
SQL server, and then from a SQL server into Power BI. That's how we're doing it.
The benefit of this is, as they've said, with the power, with the data lake interface and the DLU connection and EAM and data lake pro, the performance is, you can
Right.
mash amount of data and support and
Right.
information. So their approach that they took is the most elegant, it's
Right.
actually the fastest, and you're not limited to Snowflake. I just want to make sure. that
Yes,
Snowflake
that's right.
is good. It's a good one to show. I love it because that's what I use to show it. And you can do, there's about 30 different ways that you can do it. You have to remember, the logic is, take it out of the EAM, put it somewhere, visualize it.
Okay.
Yep. Hollywood, you got a question? Okay. All right. So let's bounce back here to the presentation. So we're going to show some things that we've put together. So different types of visualization components. Some of this stuff's already built into EAM today. You guys probably are aware of it, like with the Equipment 360 and Org 360 that's out there. We'll show some things we've done there, even embedding Power BI reports into those modules. Various digital display boards, which we've showcased at our booth. And we'll also highlight some other Power BI options. So let's go old school first, and then we'll continue on the journey here.
So just flip back to that last slide, just one for a minute. We're just trying to take, pull back up to 30,000 feet here and talk to you about broadly, look at all the tools that you have available for visualizations, right? Everyone knows Cognos. It's been in there for 20 years. It's still kind of a workhorse, but I wouldn't call it a modern visualization tool necessarily, like Power BI is. But in the box, you got Equipment 360. I'm not sure how many people are working with that. Org 360, great visualization tools within the GUI, which we'll show you can snap Power BI into those. And then you got the bottom three are kind of, the next two are kind of custom options. We'll show you some other visualization examples that are not necessarily Power BI, but things that you should consider. And then, of course, the central theme of the talk here, Power BI itself. So you have a lot of options for visualizations. So this one here is just quickly, we've got a Cognos example to show that it is still a very viable tool, that is still pretty powerful, mostly for layout reports, not so much for dashboards. This is it's not a simple report, but it's a good example of using Cognos for, in this case, PM projections. We had a customer that wanted to look at their upcoming PMs in a kind of a calendar format, and what they were doing is they were manually compiling an Excel spreadsheet. Every day they were updating it and putting the PMs that were to be done in future dates. And they were obviously getting tired of that, and they asked us if we could replicate that Excel spreadsheet in a Cognos report. So we're kind of zoomed in here, but we were able to do a month cut of all upcoming PMs, use some color coding for the different work cells and things like that. They ended up liking it a lot. So don't discount Cognos just because it's old. It still has its uses, particularly for running reports within the GUI.
Nobody in here is doing Excel-based projection reports or anything like that, right? Excel rules the world.
World's most popular
Yeah.
database.
So let's show some other examples here. I'm going to log into EAM here. Bear with me just a second. So show of hands, how many folks are using Equipment 360?
No, that's kind
All
of sad.
right. Okay.
Maybe after today, that'll change.
Okay. Let's take a look at it. So Equipment 360 can be leveraged, like if you want to understand kind of a dossier of equipment, everything about that piece of equipment, all on one screen. So if I click, and this is out of the box stuff, no Power BI stuff, no fancy schmancy hidden things going on here. These are widgets that are available to you guys today if you're in the cloud, especially on the latest version. You can click on a piece of equipment. These widgets dynamically change. They're queries that are built, just same queries that are leveraged for inboxes, KPIs, is driving this data on this screen. You can also embed, you can see here on the bottom left, that's a Cognos report. It's a mean time between failure report. It will run and pass those parameters based off the piece of equipment that I'm clicking on. So little simple dashboard style reports. Is that what you guys are doing today? Yeah. Easy to see equipment health. If you're doing nonconformities, you can see that on the equipment. So it's a good display, out of the box functionality. From the Org 360 perspective, I may have to sign in here. Okay, it looks like it's running. We can do the same type of widgets. So if you have multi-sites, Starbucks, you can pass the parameter of an org to this screen, and it will dynamically refresh. So these widgets here are Power BI reports. So they're URLs that are out there that's published to my work stream, whatever. I can filter those Power BI reports. Now that is using Extensibility Framework. I'll just put the asterisks there behind that. But if I want to look at a specific org, so in this case, Europe, I can pass that parameter. You see that the widgets over here change, and then the Power BI report changes too, based off the region that I'm selecting. So from leadership perspective, executive management, regional-based managers, they could leverage this to see various metrics that they're trying to track within EAM or even outside of EAM.
Just to clarify, with Org 360 and Equipment 360, you don't need Cognos, you don't need Power BI. There's plenty of
Yep.
widgets and capability out of the box.
And these reports function the same as, there it goes. It's just like they would if you're looking at them on a Power BI website. They're still interactive. So it's doing all the same stuff that Power BI normally does. All right? So you guys that raised your hands earlier on Power BI, you got reports like better than this stuff, right? Because I just took training yesterday. I'm kidding. All right, so the other option, let me switch here. I'm going to pull up my phone here, and I hope my kids don't text me any kind of weird stuff here. All right. So you can see the phone here, right? That black dot, anybody know what that is? Yeah. NFC. So within Power BI, you can assign filters to these tags. You can buy them on Amazon for about a nickel or 10 cents. So think of it, you take this tag and you put it on a piece of equipment in your facility. Maintenance manager, supervisor, they walk up, and since I'm showing my phone on here, I can't just tap this thing. I got to get it to show. So it looks like I'm going to pay with my credit card now, right? So I can tap this black dot, and it's going to filter the equipment number. You can see at the top left there, it's going to show vibration information, which could be coming from a historian, stored in a data lake. It can show the uptime of that equipment. It can show pressure. This is a pump. But this is also dynamic, just like the stuff that you see on the web. So ease of use, great information for folks that are out in a facility or wherever they're at. Being able to simply tap the dot that cost you a nickel to get value-added information. Anybody doing that today? It is Power BI. So
Power
leveraging.
BI, the phone app.
Yep. Again, we could tie in EAM information here. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Simply tapping the dot and quickly displaying it.
You said that was through Power BI.
It is Power BI.
What kind of license?
This would be the $10 a month. You'd have to have a Power BI license to do this because it is filtering, at least on this one, it is filtering the information. Now, if the website was, if the URL is public, it's not the case. You could do it free. There's different ways to publish your reports in Power BI. Any other questions so far? How are we doing on time, boss?
We're in good shape.
Yep. This right here? Yeah. Ah, okay. All right. How are we doing on time?
We got 10.
Okay. So within EAM, so you're going to publish your report. It's going to have a URL, right? Within EAM, oh, I got to go to, yeah, hang on. Let me go to positions here and I'll show you. If I can spell. I can't see. There is another tab that's hidden by default called Custom Tabs. So I'm in Screens in EAM. I go to the Custom Tabs. You can see here I've got different reports. I basically just created a new tab on the position screen. Type in a description, and then I'm going to put in the URL of that Power BI report. You're going to need to give yourself permission to that screen, or that tab. So when you do that, give yourself permission, you can publish it to Org 360 or Equipment 360.
And then when you're creating your 360 URL.
That's right. Good question. Make me go off the script here, so keep me on my toes. Glad I studied. All right. Yep.
So for the desktop user to have it, the widget in 360, each one of those users have to have a Power BI license as well?
No. They would have to have an EAM license to access it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they could view that. Well, no, let me take it back. They do have to have a Power BI license because we're filtering. If we're going to filter information and pass the parameters, they're going to need a license. If it's not passing a parameter, it's just straight up Power BI report that's publicly available, you can put that in there. If you want to do the cool magic of passing a parameter, that needs to be a license.
So on this one, we're going back, we're taking a step back to just the purely grid-based, simple approach for building Power BI reports. So this is just an example. In this case, we've got, again, the premise here is that you're a maintenance manager or supervisor that wants to check behind people that are doing work and completing work orders. No, you don't want to look at every work order that gets completed and close it out. You don't want to do that. You want to manage by exception. So we built what we call an audit report that kind of flags things about a work order that you might want to look into. It was a really high cost work order. Stayed open for a super long time. Didn't have any booked hours, what have you. So we identified some flags that might cause you to want to look into that work order and check it out as an audit. And so you can dial in the severity of the flags, if you will, using the slider so that you can highlight work orders that have a high chance of being something you want to look at, right? So that's what we call the audit report. You can see the little red flags there. And you can self-assess at what level you'd want to see something, but it helps you not have to get lost in the weeds and just focus on really the most important things. And if you see a work order you want to inquire on, it is a hot hyperlink on the work order number. So if you click on it, if you were a single sign-on environment, you wouldn't have to do this login right here. It would just take you straight to EAM, and it would find that work order for you, and then you could look into more detail for it inside of EAM.
Yep. All right, I'm glad that hyperlink worked.
Yeah. Simple grid-based Power BI report there. No real magic. Didn't require a data lake. Doesn't require DataBridge Pro.
Yep. Actually, these couple reports we're going to show they're running off of grids. It's not running off a data lake. We were using, I don't know if Julio's still
Julio
here.
had to step out.
We were using the BOD previously on data lake, and with the new processor, we've moved towards that. So we're still trying to align some of the reports there. But this report is from a customer where they are trying to track their mean time to attendance. So when a work order is created and how fast, when does a technician accept that work order that they're focusing on it? They got a million square foot facility, all kinds of stuff coming in. So how quick are we responding? What's our service level agreement, basically, for the maintenance work orders? So they're tracking MTTA, also the mean time to repair. So how quick are they repairing these issues maybe before they come high priority items? So this is, I'll just go ahead and show all this. It's a dynamic report, so they have what they call business unit and value streams within their facility. Value streams and areas, but you can select this. You'll see the report going all over the place here, but this is data that's they're showing on a TV screen within their facility. So each week they go in, they change a parameter, and they're, measuring against the current week. One thing to note about Power BI that's different than Cognos. How many of you are familiar with cascading prompts in Cognos? A few. Power BI does it dynamically. You don't have to do any coding or anything like that to make cascading prompts. You put this prompt up here, and I'll show an example. If I select this BCS business unit, the value stream will filter for me. It does it automatically. There's no coding per se that has to occur like in Cognos. So it's pretty simple. Of course, you can put tabs up here to go page to page. There's all kinds of things you can do from a visual perspective to make this easy for folks to use. The other report that we've put together for another customer is downtime analysis and mean time between failure analysis.
Still a grid.
This is still running off of a grid. So it refreshes. We've got, in this particular report, we've got it refreshing 4 times a day. So 1 in the morning, 5 in the morning, whatever. The time's set up in Power BI. It's using a couple grids to do this. We've got them joined together, but this stuff is dynamic, so we can, capture downtime hours, the cost of the downtime over whatever date selection I've got within here.
At this point, we're just looking at data within EAM.
Just data within EAM, no data lake stuff. We're trying to, this is an EAM conference. We'll try to stick to is it? No, don't tell anybody. But again, what I like about, and I know Tableau can do this too, but to train people on, understanding this data, it's pretty easy. You can click on these things, interact with them, see what equipment is part of this value stream or business unit or department or whatever area it is or whatever you call it in EAM. You can easily see the work orders. And just like we showed earlier, you can link into EAM to see that data by creating the hyperlink. So I think they are leveraging this report within the upper management, and it's growing. We're adding more to it. They wanted to do mean time between failure by value stream. So executive maintenance manager that doesn't sign into EAM and doesn't care about EAM, they can go to a particular value stream and see what the issues are within that. What equipment's tied to this value stream and how many work orders are hanging out there. So very dynamic. Still running off of a grid. not Data Lake, Data Bridge Pro, anything like that. So, yep.
But you're, if you run off rigs, if you're passing a lot of data, you can see some performance issues.
You could, and the date parameters are key there. That's the problem with the grid is if you're gonna start pushing hundreds of thousands of records, you're gonna run into performance issues. That's probably what you guys are experiencing on the Starbucks side. I don't know, but
Yeah, we don't push, it doesn't change that fast.
Mhm.
I don't think our data in EAM doesn't change that fast, because we're not putting SCADA data in
Yep.
and things like that, so it's just mostly work order inventory information.
this particular customer is quite large. We're doing this for a few sites now, but the one main site is pretty big. They've got almost 500 facilities globally.
Oh, yeah.
So we had the discussion with them a couple weeks ago. They've got to get on the data lake train because this isn't going to work long term doing the grids.
How's the performance, like if you were to put your Power BI into EAM, how's the performance impact on that?
If you're in the cloud, I mean, we haven't seen any performance stuff that I'm aware of. It seems to be fairly responsive. HxGN hasn't yelled at us yet. If we do create a grid that causes some problems or review, I'm sure we'd get our hands smacked, but that hadn't happened yet.
I meant on like the equipment overview, like using those.
No performance there. They're putting the governor on you anyway on the type of queries you can write. Although I don't know how many HxGN folks, there's ways around that. So, but let's see here. So we showed some examples. Were those okay? The examples we showed? All right.
I think the message we're trying to present here is that this is the way to tell a story, right? You can look at those tab screens inside of EAM all day, but you're not going to be able to get management interested in going in there and looking at that. They're not going to do it, and it doesn't tell a story. So if you really want to get them engaged in what you're doing in EAM, you're going to have to think of a way to present the data in the language they understand.
Yep.
Right? So these are some really good tools that you have available now that are relatively simple to use. I'm talking about the grid approach where you can, and Power BI is widely available and cheap. So it's a really good avenue to get data in the hands of management easily and cheaply. Mark?
If you get a number of examples of those types of moving picture stories, it's a moving picture of the business that you've used to show the management, to give them, this is what the moving picture of your business looks like from an asset management system perspective.
Do we have a number of them?
Yeah.
We do have a number of them, you know, as examples here. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't have a complete library. This is still new-ish, so we're building.
I guess the basis of that question is that, you know, I'm taking it on as a permanent, personal mission to help our customers get a permanent seat at the boardroom table through an asset management system.
Mm-hmm.
Quality's there, HR's there,
Yep.
Right.
safety is there, right? Asset management should be there.
Should be there.
It should be there.
And if you're tuning into the radio station that the executives are listening to, then this is a brilliant way to do that.
Yes.
Yep. If you
Yeah.
can get them interested in the data you're sending up, it's a huge win. Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and it's just easy too. It's something they can understand. So I hope you guys liked our little visualization pictures here. We're trying to make it, you know, we wanted to keep you awake. They told us we had the 3 o'clock time slot, and I was like, so this is Clay and I back in our youth.
That's right.
So I don't need to read this verbatim up here, but I hope what we've shown you guys is maybe open the eyes a little bit of how you can report on data through, whether it be through grids. We are jumping head first, feet first into the data lake thing as with Data Bridge Pro. I'm excited about it. I've always been one to not put technology in front of a solution, so to speak. I want to try to understand the problem at hand and then put technology there to fix it. But the Data Bridge Pro stuff is strong. leveraging the data lake with multiple systems and then Power BI on top of it, it's got a promising future, in my opinion. So I think any other questions? Hey, we're all.
Bringing it in pretty much on time here, but we do want to open it up to questions here, and we're happy to circle back on any of those charts and whatnot that we were showing. Anybody else have any questions or discussion points? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question. Have you guys been able to build reports that are like week over week? This is kind of specific. Week over week, like event status, because you have R5 events, which shows the current status, it shows the completed status. You have R5 request history, which shows when something flips from one status to the other. Now, my supervisors want to be able to build reports that track the progress of the planners and the supervisors, schedulers. And every time I try to build that report, it basically run it for overnight and my computer blows up. Without a supercomputer, is there a way? Because it clearly,
We need a quantum computer for that.
status change. Are you guys aware? Can I talk to you after maybe?
Yes.
Do you know is there a tool that I could use to be able to provide them with the week over week report?
We've done that before, yeah. We generally use the audit history for that. So as long as you're auditing the statuses, you should be able to get what you're after.
Yeah.
We've done the same thing with the requisitions, we're just trying to track them all.
Yeah, and it's like,
You know, and we have a whole robust report on that. So rather than build it out as one value, it's not using it. It seems to work better.
Yeah. If you want to go back in time and find out what the status of a work order was a week ago, you've got to use the audit table.
push something that's scheduled, doesn't get done, it gets pushed to the next week.
Right.
Well, the status doesn't change, so it still needs to show up in the next week as well, the schedule,
You got it.
so.
Yep.
Anybody else? Questions?
Wow. Tough crowd here.
So, yeah, I know we've mentioned it several times, but we are running a workshop tomorrow where we're going to show everyone in attendance how to get the grids connected to Power BI and how to build a simple Power BI report on top of a grid. And you will leave with that kit. You will be building it in your own environment. So by definition, you'll be able to take it home. And so we hope to see some of you all there tomorrow, and we appreciate you attending our session today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.